you my lovely co-host for the day. You can help guard the West Gate. Yeah, I think even if we have a couple people, I'm going to have this no matter what, because I really want to get this done. And I know people are probably wondering, like, well, haven't you had this talk like twice already? You know what I mean? I don't want people, wondering. Oh, and okay. I do have the fellas from morning, Al. How are you? You're on mute.
How's that?
Hey, much better.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Good, thank you.
I was saying, I have, Brian, I have the guy from, a couple guys from the Supreme Council of Louisiana, which is a clandestine Scottish Rite body in Louisiana that actually confers the first 3 degrees. Whereas in most of the US, we're an appendant body in the Scottish Rite. And they've had a pissing contest with the Southern jurisdiction. So they're considered clandestine, but they're almost as old. So it's very interesting. So I will be right back.
Yep, sure. So whereabouts are you, Al?
What's that, please?
Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Nevada, West Coast.
Right.
Where are you at?
I'm in the UK, in Colonel, which is down the bottom of the UK.
Where is that in relation to Newcastle?
Almost as far away from Newcastle as is humanly possible. It's Cornwall, so it's right down the very bottom end. You know, the UK is like an L shape.
Right.
Or the L.
Okay. All right. I've been to Newcastle, so
right.
I've got an idea as to where that is. Yeah.
Had to let the dog out before he whines. He'll still whine.
Let's go back to your conversation about the clandestine.
Yes.
Because I had talked to the Grand Secretary of Louisiana about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me that there are several lodges in New Orleans that actually perform the first 3 degrees of the Scottish Rite.
Yes. And it's a funny thing, and that's what I'm trying to get more details on. There is the Supreme Council, which actually confers all 3 degrees, but apparently there are also, let me see, I'll say this right. There are lodges that confer, I think, under the Grand Lodge that confer the Scottish Rite version of the degrees or something like that. Correct. So that's what I want to get more information on. And then apparently they've also got, hang on. They also have other Scottish Rite bodies that they've chartered in like New York or Wisconsin or something. They're based in Louisiana, but they do have other Scottish Rite bodies elsewhere in the country too.
All right.
So I want to say valleys, because now I keep trying to make sure it's the right term. In the Southern jurisdiction, it's a valley. So my lodge is a valley, which means the Lodge of Perfection, Council of Rose, the Chapter of Rose Croix, Council of Kadosh, and Consistory are all 4 technically separate bodies, but they all meet collectively, and we're Norfolk Valley here in Virginia. And when we started, we actually were named after people. So it'd be like the Al Davis Lodge of Perfection and the Brian Smith Council of Kadosh and so on. We actually were named after famous other Masons. And at some point in like the early 1900s, they said, nope, you are Norfolk Lodge of Perfection. We're Norfolk, and Norfolk Valley. For some reason, they got rid of the names. I don't know. And Virginia was actually one of the early institutors of the Scottish Rite. We were one of the earliest states to start having, we had quite a decent start of Scottish Rite valleys. But we actually had lodges of perfection. I mean, it's a different landscape. Today, it's one body. Most people don't recognize there are 4 different bodies within the valley. It's just different people sit in the east from time to time. But we actually had like a lodge of perfection in, say, Richmond. And then you might have a council of Kadosh in like Fredericksburg. You didn't have all four bodies in the same place.
Oh, wow.
So when we started, and then they built, the first thing you do, technically, I guess, if you were expanding into a new territory, you'd create a lodge of perfection and confer up through the 14th degree. And then eventually you'd add on the other bodies. This is like, the 1800s when they were doing that. Today, it's kind of I can't think of the last time. I'd have to check. I don't know when the last time the Scottish Rite Valley was chartered. They're all probably at least 75 years old or more here in the U.S., I would think. So,
Well, it's almost kind of.
Can you hear my dog in the background? Can y'all hear that?
No.
Yes.
Okay. He's picked this up where he rolls on his back and he makes a note. He goes, "Rawr." I guess he's itching. So he rolls on his back on the carpet and makes that noise, which is quite aggravating if we're sitting to try to watch TV and he's sitting there with us. It's like we have to pause it, like, shut up, Grievous. He's just started doing, well, he's old. I mean, he's got a brown head. He's a beagle bulldog, a bee bull. So he's like a stocky beagle. And he has a brown head with like a white question mark on his forehead. It's the cutest thing. And I've noticed that the brown is more and more gray. So it's turning into a gray and white instead of brown and white. It's like I've never seen, just mostly his head hair. So, but he is like 11 years old. So he's like 77, 80 something. I mean, he's up there in dog years. But I hadn't noticed he was turning gray on me. But he runs around like a dang puppy. So,
Well, it's good.
yeah, he's very active. It's just, and we have a pig. I don't know if you know that, Al. We have a pet pig. So I have Ham Solo and General Grievous are my two pets.
Okay.
Ham Solo, yes. My vote was for Chew Bacon, but I was overruled. Very much a Star Wars family going on here. But yeah, I'm hoping to, like I said, we had them, they had a conflict on the 16th. And so I went ahead and just scheduled me, and then we're going to schedule them for later, the Scottish Rite Fellows. I wanted to get a panel. I love the fact, looking back at our earlier meetings here, Brian, I love the fact that I've had all of these panels, and they seem to be much more successful when I have a whole group of Masons instead of like, here's Al. Al's going to talk, give a paper on this. And that's great. And that's what you get in Lodge, right? Is you got a guy come in and give a paper.
Right.
I love the fact that we can have a panel and I get guys from all over the world sitting in here and I just fire questions at each of you. And, you get a much broader picture because everybody's got their own perspective. Well, in my lodge, we do it this way. So I think that's a lot more fun having a panel. I think it's much more illuminating, especially I was talking to a guy about the observant lodges when we did the whole discussion about TO. And it's like, literally, I couldn't have asked for a better situation because every single person had a different perspective. This lodge in North Carolina converted a regular lodge into an observant lodge over time. This lodge was a brand new one in Illinois that was chartered specifically to be an observant lodge. They all called them different things. None of them call them TO, but that's what they all kind of are. They all have their own names, but everyone had their own experience of what they'd been through. So I got that perspective. I had the ones like, well, what about the old past masters in your lodge? Did they have a problem when you did the conversions to observant? And they did. Whereas, of course, the ones that started from scratch, you weren't putting anybody out because like, here's a brand new thing. You can join it if you want. You didn't have people who felt like they were being, the things were changing. It's a new thing. You can join it or you can't. It's, it's not. So it was great because you had all those different perspectives feeding in and what they went through. So it was very cool. So I like the panel discussions. Is my point. Morning, Kurt. You're muted. There you are.
Morning,
How are
Chris. Very good. How about yourself?
All right, good to see you. Hey, remind me, where are you from, Kurt?
Milton Lodge in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, that's right. And Al, I forgot to ask. Al, I remember, but I forget. Where are you from, Al?
I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, Las Vegas. Okay.
And
I do remember.
I belong in Thomasville, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Jake, you want to unmute and say hello?
to move to my basement. My family is not also part of this. But hello,
Okay.
I'm Jake Crocker. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I'm the
Oh, excellent.
master. I'm the master of Richard Randolph, number 19.
Oh, excellent. Glad to have you here. We have
Glad to
Michael,
be here.
Michael Joyner visits our lodge quite a bit.
Yes,
I get to see him in
Joyner
person. Yes.
was my traveling buddy. Here we go.
Yeah. There you go.
And I'm going to put him in the master's chair next month for past master's night. He was the
cool.
master when I became a master mason. So
Oh, hey, can you move your camera back just a hair? Back to you're right that way. Yeah. Now, if you open,
I'm getting situated here. Let me lean back.
no, move back to the right just a hair, just for a second. The other way, your left. There,
Yeah, the
there.
other
Now,
right.
if you open up the head of Lincoln and hit the button, that opens the Batcave, right?
Oh yeah, there you go.
You know what
That
remembers
is
the
Lincoln.
old?
Yes, I am a born and raised Richmonder with a statue of Abraham Lincoln in my office.
Awesome. Well, it reminds me of the Batman TV show because that's exactly the bus they had where they flip it open, hit the button, and it opens up the Batcave. I don't know. I recognize that. I don't know why. That's
that's my
childhood.
secret.
Okay. You can go back to the me wall if you want. I was going to comment on it and you moved the camera, but you're fine. You can leave it like you are. So anyway, yeah, good to have you here. Yeah, Michael, he and I have been to several things recently. He finally affiliated with Virginia Research Lodge. And,
Yeah, he was very excited about that. And I track you guys, and usually everybody else in my area is at Masters and Wardens right now. But I
Right.
decided I did not want to be there at 8 a.m. again. So
yeah, why did you?
look, I'm riding out my 1 month, and I'm riding out my last 2 months as master. So I'm avoiding getting up early on Saturdays if I can. So
you're coming in.
especially our lodge meets on Saturday mornings too. So it's always
Okay.
it's always morning, and I own restaurants and bars, so I'm always go late. So I'm always not at my best. So
I understand. Well, we appreciate you being here.
yeah, this is great. This is right up my alley, social media, and like I said, I've really built a lodge presence over the years, and then I run all the presence for Mason's Hall, which of course is our home, which is America's oldest Masonic lodge building, and we've gained a pretty huge following, which also both on Instagram and pretty large one on Instagram and Facebook, which helps us, which has garnered a lot of visitation and donations because we always need money.
Right.
And I'm also getting ready to launch a social media plan for the Scottish Rite. And
Oh, cool.
Also, I'm in charge of public affairs for the Grand Masters Conference in 2023, which will be in Alexandria. So that's where all the Grand Masters are coming. So I'm handling all public affairs and social media.
Oh,
and that.
awesome.
So,
Hey, I have to go silence my whiny dog. I'll be right back. Talk amongst
no, go
yourselves.
for it. I heard somebody say they're from Vegas. Who's from Vegas?
I am.
Vegas is great. I was out there, I guess, about a month ago for a conference.
Yeah, that's when it was still warm. Now it's down in the 70s. It's cold.
Freezing 70s. Hopefully you guys don't freeze to death.
Jeez.
I'll send winter coats. Vegas is great as always. But it seems like it's back to life again.
Yeah, it's pretty much back. Everything's just about open. They've got buffets open again. They've got pretty much everything open. So
I'm back. I had to go fire all of my support staff. It's like, can anyone else let the damn dog out the door? So
Well, that's another reason why I had to come to the basement, because wife's sleeping and the dog is very excited that I'm up. So
right, understood. Well, see, I mentioned earlier I have a dog and a pig, and the pig likes to lay in front of the dog door out on the step. so the dog can't go out the door. Like if I open the door, he'll just jump right over the pig to get where he's going, but he can't push the door open because the pig's laying in front of it. And I do believe the pig does it on purpose. So
Yeah.
They have an interesting relationship. So yeah, Jake, I'm glad that you're here for this, and this is definitely something that may help you. I mean, I wrote this paper several years ago specifically to help a lodge that doesn't have any kind of social media, kind of give them an outline of here's what's out there, and a lot of it at this point, I'm assuming most of y'all know like what Facebook is and stuff, but it's a good explanation of things that people may not quite understand. Like, you know, they hear these terms, they don't know what they are, but also how to go about getting it started and how to put people to work who are not as technically savvy. So a lot of it, you may be like, yeah, I know that. But I think the organization part might be useful, just because to me, it's like you want to get more people involved and you can't just leave it on the one guy. If you have one guy in your lodge who's a web guy and he does all the heavy lifting, you know, you're setting yourself up for failure there. So it's about wasting other people in.
And that's what, you know, and I know it's back and forth. I actually, social media, I've been out there doing it for companies for a long time. And, but I just kind of wanted to get a different perspective when I saw this pop up about who's doing what.
Yes.
Because I get people come to me all the time to ask, and then I have different perspectives on it. And, you know, and then of course there's always, there's the semi-controversial social media policy from a couple of years ago here in Virginia. And, and you know, it's just one of those things. It's like we keep our lodge stuff like I'm big on here's pictures of the building and stuff in the building, but I won't put on a public site any pictures of the brethren because, you know, there's some people are very enthusiastic Freemasons, but they don't necessarily want that to be out in public.
Cool.
And some, like Michael Joyner, are the opposite. So
I will.
Everybody to know.
I'm going to bring we'll have a discussion after the paper. I want you to expand on some of that stuff after I get
exactly. So
I want to talk about
good.
that. Yeah, I wanted to say though about Michael. He finally he'd been coming here for a while, attending our meetings, and I kind of joke him because the bedroom that Michael sits in is like a poster bed. There's like two staffs at the end of the bed, and I was joking about he has lodge in his room because it looks like two deacon staffs or two white pillars for whatever reason. That's the way the bed's designed. So, but he made it out and finally came to Virginia Research Lodge and affiliated. And then I saw him at a table lodge at my lodge, and then saw him at Peyton Randolph like a month later. So we keep running into each other. He's very active. It's great to see him everywhere.
Yes.
Morning,
Nice
brother.
up there.
Adejo.
Yeah, worshipful master and bread and all. If I'm having my worshipful master on seat, I never knew. I don't know whether I'm having a worshipful master on seat here. So that's why I'm giving the respect to him right now.
All
So
right.
just logging seeing my brothers. Yeah, I just don't know what the discussion is all about. So I just
Okay.
want to greet every one of you.
All right. Good to have you here.
So-
So we're gonna be talking about social
I'm from
media.
Nigeria. I'm from Obutemeta,
Okay.
Lodge 3973.
Very
So-
good. Good to have you here.
So I'm an enter apprentice.
That's fine. You don't have to be a Mason to attend these. We're open, so we don't require you to be a Master Mason either. Good to have you here. I was going to say hi to somebody, letting people in. Oh, Gerard. Good to have you with us, Gerard.
I'm here. I'm trying to get my camera back up, but
Okay.
it's not for some reason. I don't
No
know.
hurry. Did we lose? We lost Neil. I saw Neil on here.
Yeah, we also lost Sean Moyer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll come back. I'll give them a few minutes. I was chatting with Jake and I was like, oh, let me say hi to so-and-so. And then they're gone. I'm in no hurry. I'm the speaker, so I won't mind if I make myself wait. So I won't be. I'll try not to be rude, and I'll be understanding as guest speaker. How you doing, Gerard? Where are you hailing from?
I am in Newberry, Michigan.
Oh, very good. Good to have you here. And it appears you are in your bunker, so we are good. Waiting for the follow-up. Very good. Well, I was hoping a couple of those guys who dropped off will come back, and then we'll get started in a bit. I see it's already 10 after. Let me go and do do my usual spiel here. This is that guy. My name is Chris Douglas. I am the junior deacon and the webmaster for Virginia Research Lodge in Highland Springs, Virginia. I just posted in the chat. That is our Facebook group. If you're not already a member, please join us on Facebook. And then our lodge website where we host our research papers, our YouTube channel where all of these talks are hosted. After the meeting, I process and then put them up on YouTube. So if you're watching me on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We want to get more subscribers. And then my email address if you want to get a hold of me. The best way to reach me about this, anything with the Research Lodge, is on Facebook Messenger, because that's kind of where I keep track of everything. But this is our unstated meeting. We couldn't have stated meetings during COVID, so I started having unstated meetings because it goes unstated that this is not a tiled meeting. So, and I love to have brothers from all over the world coming in and attending. This is great. Normally we have more Brits and Scots and what all. I think Brian may be our only one at the moment, but normally we have several. And we even let Canadians in here. So hopefully Neil will come back. Today's topic is going to be on social media and Masonry. This is a paper I gave a few years back. A brother of mine told me that I needed to go ahead and write a paper on it since I seem to be the one doing more about social media than anybody else. And he said, go ahead. I said, yeah, I always thought about writing a paper to explain how to go and do the stuff and kind of like a lessons learned from the things I've been doing, being webmaster and whatever. And he said, well, stop screwing around and go ahead and write a paper. So I did. Given it a few times. It's been a lot of fun. All right. I just wanted to give a few more minutes. I think everybody else got a chance to talk. Al, tell us what's going on in Vegas.
Not a whole lot.
Okay. Okay. All right. And now the weather. All right. What?
Vegas is opening up again.
That's good.
I was telling Jake that, a lot of everything is pretty much back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
As far as, people coming in, people, drinking, playing, doing their usual Vegas thing. Masonically, I haven't been to a lodge in a while, so I don't know what's going on with lodges. I've been to Scottish Rite.
Have they been meeting though? I mean, are the lodges meeting again?
Yeah,
Okay.
They've been meeting since what? Well, it was off and on for a while.
Right.
But basically since, I want to say May.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's kind of how we are. Well, I think we're finally able to start serving food again. We had to have individual portions, and there are all sorts of silly rules. It's like, well, you can eat, but you have to serve it this way. It's like, you're either serving food or you're not. I don't know. To me, It's like the policies don't make any sense, because it's like, if you say you can't serve food, okay. If you say you can only serve food if you do these certain things, like you still have somebody preparing the food and serving it. I don't quite get that. Like, how is that better? But I don't know. Good morning, Gordon. Good to have you with us. If you want to unmute and say hello. Gordon was our guest speaker, I think the last real meeting we had back in June or July. Maybe he's still getting set up. Brian, anything new with your corner of the world?
No, we're back in lodge. We're not allowed, well, at the moment, we're not allowed to have food. The bar is not open, which is really heartbreaking. We're sort of doing a very, very slim down bit of masonry, really.
Okay. But at least you're allowed to meet.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I still see Gordon's not back up. I wanted to say something. Gordon, want to make sure he can hear us. You want to unmute and let us know you're there, Gordon? There he is.
I'm on my phone. I'm struggling.
Okay. Good to have you here, sir.
Yeah, you too.
We did. Okay. So for whatever reason, I was slacking. I had like 3 meetings to post back in July, the last 3, and yours was the last one we had. And I assumed I'd actually posted it. And somebody emailed me when I was in Roanoke for Scottish Rite a couple weekends ago. I said, oh yeah, if you go to the website, here's the link. Because he asked me specifically about the Victoria Cross. And I said, if you go to the website, I've got it on YouTube. Oh, great. And then when I had a chance, I went and looked. It's like, oh, no, I don't have that one. Why? Because I wanted to send him a link to that specific video. You know, when I had time to sit down and look it up, it's like, I'll send you that specific link so you can go right to it. It's like, why is it not there? And then I had to wait till I got home. And I emailed him. It's like, okay, it's not there. As soon as I get home, I'll put it up there. And it was yesterday I finally got around to going and taking it. I'd already cut it, or I'd started cutting it, but I hadn't finished it and uploaded it. So it's up on the website now. So
Well, someone in the UK watched it because he challenged me on one of my points.
very
About
good.
there being 34 stars on the Medal of Honor. And he says there's only 13. I says, no, there's actually 34 on the Air Force Medal of Honor.
Okay. He was talking about a different services Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad you set him straight.
Well, I did. I enjoyed it because he's a friend as well.
Yeah,
And
we
it's
do.
a great man to argue with Gordon.
For those of you who are fairly new to this, we have had, I think I've got like 18, I'll have to count them up. It's close to 20 unstateds that we had. And it just the number of topics. I mean, I go back and look, it's like, yeah, we really covered a lot of different things. It was really pretty cool. And I feel bad we've taken a break from it for a few months, but I had to take a week off, and then it was another week, and then, you know, it's July and now we're into September and we haven't had one. So that's what happens when you're the only guy running the show. If I'm not available, it don't happen. But I want to try and get them going again, because this is a lot of fun. We talk about a lot of really interesting topics, and, you know, I think we're doing a good service here. And them being available on YouTube for people to go back and look later is great, because people always say, I can't make it. It's like, well, go watch it on YouTube. You can catch up. But it's always better in person, I think. It's more fun to be here when it's going on and talking about it. All right. So it's 10:15. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today, our topic is social media and masonry, as I mentioned before. And like I said, this was a paper that I wrote for, I think I given it in my lodge originally. I've given it like 3 or 4 other lodges, and it's been well received. Now, I have not had time to update this since I originally wrote it, I think. So I may ad lib a bit at the end, talk more about Zoom meetings and other things that have changed in a couple of years. So
When did you write it?
That's a good question. 2015.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, things have changed a little since then.
Yes.
I will say one thing though, I want to draw attention to it. I got to give this talk in Yorktown Lodge because a fellow D. Malay was master that year, David Murray, who's now our grand chaplain, I think. He asked me to come give a talk. So I put it on Facebook that I'll be giving a talk on social media and masonry at Yorktown. And Brother Eric Fierst of Seaboard Lodge in Portsmouth drove up to Yorktown just to sit in on the meeting. And he told me, I'm here because you put it on Facebook. I said, well, if that doesn't, you know, prove my master's thesis that you saw it and you attended because of social media, I thought it was brilliant. And then it took me a year or two to go back and pay him the favor and go visit his lodge. But it's great. I mean, the fact someone came out from even further away than me to come attend and hear was great. So, without further ado, social media and Masonry. What is social media? Social media describes the various ways of using technology to connect with an audience. Every lodge should have a social media or outreach program that connects with three groups: the members, other Masons, and potential candidates. Here is a brief description of the various types of social media. Website, a collection of pages on the World Wide Web that can be seen from any computer, smartphone, or tablet. Think of your website as an online brochure with text, pictures, and videos that advertise your business or organization. The more elaborate ones allow users to interact and upload content. Text, pictures, and documents. It requires a certain amount of technical expertise to set up your site, but users can be taught to update the content themselves. Facebook, a website that allows people and groups to have their own page with a certain amount of content control. Users create posts made of text, pictures, or video. The big advantage of Facebook is that most everyone uses it and most users check it daily. Facebook is free and requires little technical expertise to create a group page. Plus, you don't have to manage member accounts. You just add people to your group and then they can post to that page. Twitter, another social media site where each post or tweet can only have 140 characters. Now, this is now, I think, 280. It's gone up. You can also upload pictures and video. Unlike Facebook, where you have to friend someone in order to read their posts, you can follow anyone on Twitter and see what they are posting. Twitter is also free and is more user-friendly for mobile devices due to the shorter posts. Email. Electronic mail has been common in the workforce for years. Most people have one email address for work and a different one from home. Email is available for free from sites such as Google, Yahoo, or Hotmail. Email is also free from your internet provider like Cox and Verizon. An email distribution list is essential for every lodge. You will find that most of your members already have email accounts. You just have to go and get them. Phone. Everyone has a home phone, a mobile phone, or both. More and more people are getting rid of their home phones and going to strictly mobile phones, of course. Every lot should have a phone committee and call each member several times a year to look in on them. There are also phone services available that can send a recorded message to every member at a fairly low cost. Texting. Mobile phones also have the ability to send text messages to other phones. For some members, texting may be a better way to reach them than even email. You could also set up mass mailings the same way you would with email. Postal or snail mail. Many lodges produce a trestle board. Printing and postage costs are rather high, so it is better to email the trestle board to as many members as possible. But you will always have members who prefer their trestle board physically mailed to them. Visits. Nothing replaces the personal connection of visiting a brother in person. For those members who are older or shut in, a personal visit means much more to them than a phone call or email. This is a duty that so many lodges fail to complete. All of these have pros and cons. An effective outreach program uses a combination of some or all of them. The biggest requirement is an investment of time on the part of the members in order to be successful. A website is good for top-down communication, to put out the official word, while Facebook and Twitter are better for getting the members to interact, supporting and sharing their day-to-day experiences with each other. What does it take to get started? First, prepare and mail a brief survey to every member of the lodge, asking for their phone, email, and Facebook information. Tell them the purpose of the survey, that you are trying to better connect with them. Ask them how they want to be informed about lodge activities through email, phone, or mail. Let them know about the lodge website and Facebook page. You could also ask other questions in the survey, such as any special program they would want to see in the lodge. Once you have a social media program in place, you must promote it and keep promoting it in lodge. It's not enough to email the members. You have to remind them in person. At every stated, your outreach committee should give a brief update. Tell them about the various programs. Tell the success story of a phone call to a brother who we have not spoken to in years. Ask for suggestions on what they would like to see on the website. One thing you must be prepared for is the resistance to change you will encounter from some members. Get ready for the phrase, "We have always done it this way." Well, what we actually have always done is put an ad in the newspaper, print and mail a trustboard to every member of the lodge, and call each member at least once a month. So we don't even do that anymore. No one reads the classifieds for lodge notices. After printing and postage costs, it's over $1 per member for each and every trustboard board. Or you can send emails for free every single week. These tools are available to us. We need to take advantage of them to reach as many as possible without forgetting about the ones we still have to reach by conventional means. Remind these well-meaning brothers who would criticize that you are not changing any of the fundamental aspects of the craft. We will still have our meetings and our degrees the same as always, but your program will keep the members better informed and encourage them to attend more often. It also lets those who live far away to stay in touch and feel connected to their lodge. Finally, it encourages other Masons and potential Masons to attend without recruiting. What are the goals of our outreach program? First, reach all of the members. A survey should reach them all, but not all will respond. It will take phone calls and personal visits to contact each and every one of them. Once you can email 75% of your members, don't forget to call or write to the other 25% on a regular basis. Remind them that they are not in the lodge, they are the lodge. Every member is important, and by keeping in closer contact, we can respond better to their needs. Remind them that Masonry only works when we do. Each of them has a role to play. Some just need help discovering. How much more could your lodge accomplish if every single member did at least one thing for the lodge this year, attended one degree, gave blood one time, coached one candidate? The website must be easily accessible with the most important information on the homepage. All information must be reachable in 3 clicks or less. The site should have an easily remembered URL or address. If you can remember it without writing it down, it is a good URL. Imagine driving in your car and hearing an ad on the radio with a web address or phone number. Can you remember it without writing it down? For example, NorfolkValley.com is a good URL, while NorfolkAASR.com is not. I can give a good example of this. I used to live near DC, and there would be a radio ad for the Harmon Koshland Museum. And they would say, just visit HarmonKoshland.com. I had no earthly idea how to spell Harmon Koshland. No idea. But they think putting that on the radio and giving that URL, people go to the website. How is it spelled? If it's not easily spelled, you're going to have problems. Make sure your contact information, street address, phone, and email address are prominently displayed. We are trying to reach other Masons and potential candidates in addition to our members, so make it easy for them to find us in the real world. Welcome visitors by making your site friendly and inviting. Have a page dedicated to showing new visitors around. Give the reader a reason to visit our lodge in person. At every opportunity, encourage members to attend lodge and be involved. Of course, you must have fun and interesting programs to promote. If you have a special program like a Grand Master's visit, use every avenue, Facebook, Twitter, website, emails, to promote it. Those who have not attended in a while will want to see what they're missing. Masters and wardens must contribute. If you don't have current content, your website will look out of date. All stationed officers have a responsibility to provide their take on what is happening in the lodge. It cannot fall on the worship master alone, or worse, on the brother who maintains the site. Encourage other members to provide content as well, such as a lodge educational officer or lodge historian. If a well-educated brother has written a paper, but isn't familiar with using a computer, get a copy, scan it into electronic form, and post it for others to read. Encourage members to connect with each other. When a lodge member is on Facebook, The webmaster should recommend him as a friend request to all other members. That way, every member can enjoy fellowship with every other member. The website is usually managed by one member, the webmaster. The worshipful master may choose to approve every bit of content or just provide his comments on a regular basis. But the webmaster will maintain the site for the long term. In any case, a website has the most amount of creative control. There is no limit on how customized your website can be. A Facebook page, on the other hand, allows only a limited amount of customization. But you will find that Facebook users will check the group page far more often than the website. So it's critical to keep both places current. Your website should, at a minimum, have all of these elements. A calendar of meeting and events, including the date and time and any additional information, such as the speaker or special program. It is critical to keep the calendar current. Every new master should have a term plan ready before his term starts. The webmaster can use this as a starting point and modify as needed throughout the year. Calendars should be printable. Announcements highlight upcoming events or new features added to the website. You could add banners or big text to promote special events like a blood drive. Pictures, and more pictures. A website of nothing but text will put a reader to sleep. Ask members to post pictures to the Facebook group, as most understand how to do that, and the webmaster can copy those pictures over to the website at a later time. Tell the history of your lodge, when it was founded, what lodge it came out of, the different temples where you have met. If you have any pictures from back then, even better. It is a good idea to appoint a lodge historian or even a committee to gather this information and not put it all on the shoulders of the webmaster. This way, the non-technical members can contribute to the success of your program. Current officers and old officers. At a minimum, list the current lodge officers with a group photo. Over time, you can add officers from previous years. A list of past masters with their photos and biography is also recommended. Have a member interview each of the past masters to build their biography. This will also strengthen the ties within your lodge. And again, that's a place where you can have non-technical people in your lodge get together with all of your past masters and maybe your older members and interview them. Get their biography, get some information, some history of the lodge from their perspective. They can gather that information and provide it to the web team, who can then put it on the lodge website. This way, all of your members are involved in this process. It's not just the technical people who are going to make it happen. Links, and more links. The web works by sites linking to each other. Always have a link to the Grand Lodge and the other lodges in your district. Most Grand Lodges have a What is Freemasonry page and similar pages. These are well written and easier to link to than writing your own. Link to your appendant bodies, to the Scottish Rite, to the Royal Arch, the Shrine, etc. Be sure to include the youth groups, not just those that meet at your temple, but in the surrounding area. And ask the owners of each of those sites to reciprocate. By connecting to each other, we make it easier for visitors to discover similar sites, which is the whole point, exposure. Speaking of Grand Lodge, once your site is up, send an email to the Grand Lodge Web Committee for their approval. They're not required. It is better for your disclaimer to say, approved by the Grand Lodge of Virginia. They also won't list your website on the Grand Lodge website until it has been approved. Of course, whatever Grand Lodge you are in, same applies. They probably have a committee that approves and vets your websites. Your site could have a chat or a discussion section, but you should only build this if there is a demand, because maintaining accounts for each member can be labor intensive. If Facebook meets your need of having members communicate with each other, rely on that and don't invest the effort to build a chat on your website unless there's a strong demand for it. Every social media outlet should display links to all your other sites. Your website should have a prominent link to your Facebook and Twitter pages or other social media, and vice versa. Officers should be encouraged to list their lodge website in their email signatures. If you use Masonic calling cards, list your sites as well as your email address and phone number. The key to promotion is to ensure that anyone you come in contact with personally, Masonically, is aware of your website and knows the URL. Join other lodges' Facebook pages. Post events such as blood drives to ensure their members are informed. Your Facebook group should be open to the public, but only members should have the right to post. Depending on your policies, other Masons, wives of Masons, Eastern Star, members of youth group should be members of your site as well. But it's a good idea to require that every post be approved by an administrator. This prevents hacked accounts from posting inappropriate content. You should choose several brothers who are on Facebook frequently to be administrators for your Facebook group so that new posts will always be approved in a timely manner, and requests for membership are approved in a timely manner as well. Now, if there truly is a demand to have a members-only group for your lodge on Facebook, create a second group and restrict the membership to just those members. But you should always have a publicly visible group for people to discover, in addition to the members-only group. In conclusion, be flexible with this new technology. Experience will tell you which social media outlets bring results for you and which do not. Find the right combination to focus your energy on, and drop or minimize your effort for those with little or no return value. One Twitter account I manage is for Norfolk Valley of the Scottish Rite. It has over 500 members, less than a handful, 500 followers, sorry, but less than a handful are actually members of the Valley. And what's funny is over half of them are British lodges. For some reason, they picked up on it and we're very popular with them. I don't know why. So we are keeping Masons the world over well informed through Twitter, but we're not doing a single thing to inform our own members. Ask your members periodically if they're taking advantage of this program and what they like or don't like. Make an effort to add new content regularly, at an absolute minimum once a year, to show the new officers and calendar for the year. I've seen many websites that were well designed and pleasing to the eye, but the most current officers listed were from 2005 or so. This happens all the time. Every year I go through and review all of the websites for all of the lodges in Virginia. And I check for ones that don't have one to see if they've built one. And inevitably, there are 2 or 3 out there that are really nice that some junior or senior deacon built for the lodge back in 2005, and no one else took it over, and it's still sitting out there. No one's maintaining it, and it's 10 years or more out of date. It's just sad. And there are many cases where someone's built a new website and no one bothered to find the old one and shut it down. Finally, my brethren, remember that all of these wonderful tools at our disposal are just there to assist us in reaching our members. Masonry was not founded to make sure a brother sitting at home remembers that he is a Mason. It was founded to bring us together for fellowship. Nothing can replace meeting face-to-face with your brothers within this lodge. Now, the addendum, because that was written 6 years ago, Zoom has become a huge thing because of COVID. Obviously, you're here in this meeting, you know about Zoom. Having an online meeting is one way to reach your brothers who can't physically make it to lodge. My lodge held a regular meeting, just a casual get-together every week, and we had brothers who lived in other states who obviously can't physically attend, but they would dial in just to say hello. Even with COVID restrictions ending, every lodge should seriously consider having an online meeting every month or every other month, just to keep the members in touch who don't live there anymore. And what we're doing here, of course, with the research lodges, we're presenting educational papers. We're reaching out to brothers all over the world through this, and there are many other people who are doing the same thing with their online meetings. And it allows you not just to get in touch with brothers from your lodge, but to talk to other Masons around the world and share Masonic education and fellowship. So it's definitely worth investigating Zoom. I paid for the minimum tier of paid service. The free service for Zoom is great in an emergency, but it's only like 40 minutes long. There's a limit to the number of people you can let in. You can't really restrict anything. I convinced the research lodge to pay for it. I think it's $150 a year they're paying for to host this. And I use it for a whole bunch of other bodies as well. So I would definitely recommend Zoom. I've tried Facebook groups or Facebook rooms. I've tried Google, which Google Meet is only if you have a Gmail account. You can invite in other people. I've tried most of the ones. I've used WebEx and Microsoft Teams And a lot of them are there, but most of the ones out there are specific for an organization where everybody who's attending the meeting has an account with that group. And that works well for them. If you're doing something for Masonry, Zoom is your best bet. It has the most features for the least amount of money. It's only $150 a year. And you have good control at just the minimum tier, which should be perfectly fine for almost any lodge. I think the Scottish Rite is 1 or 2 tiers up. The Supreme Council actually has a Zoom account, and they can host hundreds and hundreds of people. Your lodge can get away with doing the basic tier from Zoom, and it's well worth it. You also get metrics. I'm able to see who attended every single meeting, and I can keep tabs of who all attended, so I know the number of attendees I have. So very useful metrics available through that. And I would definitely recommend, if you're holding a regular meeting like this, go to like tinyurl.com or one of the other tiny URL sites. And if you make it a recurring meeting, the URL does not change. And you can save it as a tiny URL like I do with this one. And I reuse it again and again and again. And I don't have to create a new meeting each week. I just simply spin it up and have it. So that's my talk. Any questions? Any discussion?
Where did you say to go for the where you could use the same URL over and over?
Oh, it's tinyurl.com.
Like TINY?
Yeah, because it's because if you see, I'm going to go put this in the chat. This is the everyone. This is tinyurl Research Lodge Zoom. So what it is my Zoom account. I create a recurring meeting every Saturday at 10, but I can open it at any time. If I grab that URL anytime, day or night, I just simply hit that in the browser and it creates a new Zoom meeting. It's not tied to the time at all. So it's available to me whenever I want it, but it's scheduled to be every week at 10 a.m. So I can generate the phone number. If you look on the website, I have like how to connect through the phone and all that stuff. Zoom gives me all of that, and I just simply say copy the invite and paste it. It says Chris Douglas is inviting you to a Zoom meeting and all of that stuff. But I just took the actual URL, which includes the password, because I don't bother with passwords. I just like, here it is. I wrap that. If you go to tinyurl.com and type in or paste in a URL, it spits back tinyurl.com/E65QRZ2. It gives you garbage. But if you sign up, I don't think you even have to sign up. I think I did, though. You can say, I want my tiny URL to be, in my case, Research Lodge Zoom. And it made that my URL. So it's very useful. There's another one. I can't think of the other one offhand. But there's several URL shorteners out there. Tiny URL is the one I have to use. I can't. It's escaping me. If you Google it, you can find other ones, but Tiny URL works great, and you can customize it.
Bitly.com.
What's that?
Bitly.com.
That's it,
Bitly.
Bitly, yes. Bit.ly, yes. Or Bitly. I think it's bit.ly. I don't know.
Yeah, that's correct.
Bit.ly, yeah, Bitly. Anyway, I think I had more example. I think I ad-lib more when I gave the talk because it seems like a little shorter. I did want to share this because I'm kind of proud of this effort. When I was Master of Ocean View in 2012, we had just over 200 members in our lodge. And we had about 40 people that we had their email address. So I got the current list of all the members. I called every single member of my lodge. And over the course of like 3 months, I reached all but 40 of them. But I called every one of them personally and just talked to them, introduced myself, asked how they were doing, what all. And for the vast majority of them, they had not heard from their lodge in years, other than getting a dues notice. They never heard from our lodge. So most of them had an email address. I was surprised, believe it or not, I was surprised how many older brothers had email addresses. I thought, it's more of a younger guy thing. No. Most of the older members are like, oh yeah, we use email for everything. It's how I keep in touch with my grandkids and whatever. So we got up to 135 emails, which was pretty good. There were, by the time my year was over, there was still about 40 members that their phone numbers were bad. And I wasn't able to go out and visit them personally. I said, we needed to have the lodge go out and physically go to every one of these brothers' homes that lived in the Norfolk area still and visit them because we don't have current phone numbers for them. But out of that effort, not only did I talk to almost every member of my lodge, most of them I'd never met in person. They'd been retired to Florida for years or whatever, but they were so excited to have somebody from the lodge call them and talk to them. And that was really great. And hearing stories from them, they told me about when they used to be in lodge, and they mentioned people that I'd actually remembered or had even heard about who had been long gone. And they felt connected back to their lodge. But also, I identified 13 members who had died. So when we did our annual meeting and we had the memorial service, we had the most we'd had in years because we only had 3 die that year, but I had 13 that had died earlier that I found through my phone calls. And some of them, the brother had been dead at least 10 years. The lodge had no idea. The Grand Lodge had no idea. And for whatever reason, the lodge wasn't told when they died or something happened. And of course, I feel bad talking to a widow. It's like, oh, I'm very sorry that, Brother Smith passed away, whatever. But I had no idea. I mean, it's like, I asked when it was, and it was like 10 years ago. So we're really remiss in most lodges of keeping in touch with their brothers. If you're not in lodge, we tend to forget about you. This is the point I make over and over again is for every member who's sitting in your lodge, say this in my lodge all the time. For every one of you sitting here in this room, there's 9 other Masons of this lodge sitting at home. And every one of them is just a member of this lodge as you are. It's great that you're here, but we can't forget that they're out there and we're not doing our job of keeping them in the loop and keeping them in our thoughts. And the fact that we were able to get so many of them on email was great because they get involved. They join on Facebook. They keep involved in things on Facebook. They talk about things. They love to hear what's going on in their lodge, even if they can't physically be there anymore. And we actually have had a few that started coming back because I was pestering them and calling them and talking to them. So the other story was I started a committee of 2 brothers, and I maintained a list of all the members so I could sort it any way I wanted. One of them gets a list of every member by birthday, and on their birthday, they call them. So that's like 10 calls a month. It's an easy job, but they call the member on their birthday and just wish them happy birthday and see how they're doing. The other brother calls them on their Masonic birthday. So he calls the first week of the month because our state is on the second Friday. And he would call them on the Masonic birthday and say, Brother Brian, you were raised on August 15th, 1806. And we'd love to have you in lodge to give you your 180-year pin. We're meeting on Friday. We'd love to seriously, some of them were due for like the 25-year pin, even their 50-year pin, and they didn't know. But by reminding them of their Masonic birthday, there was a good chance they come to lodge just to get recognized. Well, so that's 2 brothers calling maybe 10 calls a month, and they're calling at different times. So Brian, you get a call when you were raised, and you get a call on your birthday. So it's a good way twice a year you can expect a call from the lodge and feel like you're connected again. And the other secret purpose behind that is, imagine, say, Kurt, you haven't been to your lodge in like 20 years, and all we do is send you a dues notice. And I call you out of the blue. I say, I'm the new master this year. And you're like, okay, go hang yourself. I don't care. Because I only called you once, right? Well, if I called you every few months, if someone from the lodge is calling you every few months, and I call and if I was to call you out of the blue today and we chat a little bit and I say, well, is there anything you need? And you desperately need someone to come do some yard work or do something around the house, you're not going to say yes. You're going to be like, no, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. But if I'm calling you several times a year at least and getting to know you and talking to you and you're used to hearing from me, at some point when I ask, is there anything you need? You might actually open up and say, well, yeah, I could use help with this. Whereas I never call you, you're not going to volunteer that you need help. So it's a way that we can come back and help our brothers, because I know a lot of them are older. They can't make it to lodge. They still might need something, and it wouldn't be anything for us to send a few brothers over and rake their leaves or whatever it is they need taken care of. But if we're not connecting with them routinely, there's no way they're going to offer up that they need help. So I've been successful with what I did, getting my lodge going on that track. And social media, of course, with the Research Lodge, it's amazing. I mean, we have I think 1,800 members on the website, on the group rather. And I have, I think, over 1,500 that get the emails every week with the research papers. overlapping groups, but between the two, I probably got like 3,000 Masons I'm reaching from our research lodge. So it's pretty cool. Any other questions, discussion?
For those guys that have been dead for a while, was somebody paying their dues or were they on the list?
Well, in Virginia, if you're a 50-year Mason, you don't pay dues. So there's some of them that we mail them a dues card, and that'd be, or we mail them their life member, or they might be a life member, or they might be a veteran, and we just send them one dues card one time. That was the case with some. And some of them, we kept mailing the dues notice and they don't get answered. It may be that the widow just throws that in the trash and doesn't bother to write back and say he's dead. I think some of it falls on the widows. Honestly, I would think they would know. I don't know how you can be married to somebody for like 30, 40, 50 years and not know they were a Mason. At least the Blue Lodge. I don't expect you to know that they're a member of the illustrious Third Order of the Cork, transcribed whatever number 15 that meets in wherever that you never heard of. But the Blue Lodge, I think at a minimum, most people should know their husband was a Mason, I would think. But I don't know, maybe he got mad at the lodge and stopped coming. He said, I don't want to ever talk about Masonry again. I don't know. I'm sure there's a story for each one of them why they never let us know. Jake, you brought up some things earlier. You want to go and cover them a little bit?
Yes, it's interesting, and your paper's on point. The only thing I would, and that's we're very aggressive on our social media, but we're very also aggressive within the Masonic space, for example. So you mentioned having the public profile and a Facebook group, and I know a lot of lodges do that. And I'm a member of a lot of lodges, and that have a public-facing group and page. We do not, even though almost all our guys do not want. We have a very young lodge. And none of them, and almost including myself, a lot of them want to keep their Freemasonry to themselves and not exactly have, because the internet is the internet, and more so in the last few years, I've noticed you get people who solicit you all the time through it if they know you're out there as a Mason, and then sometimes it brings up conversations that you don't, people who have fallen into the black hole of the internet and conspiracy theory side of Freemasonry who think you're flat out evil.
Right.
So, which is my mother-in-law, by the way. So there's, and no matter what will tell her, she does not know I'm a Mason, even though I'm Master of the Lodge and Master of Kadosh, the Scottish Rite, and amongst other in different bodies. I know for a fact she thinks Masons are, nothing is going to convince her, because she found some internet YouTube videos a few years ago that said that we're evil and underground and all that stuff. So that's my concern on the public side of it. So, I guess my thoughts but on 2015 and 26 and even 2016, I think we were pushing out. I think our site had been public and then we went private because of that. So I think, what I like to do is operate in the existing Masonic community. There's all the national, of course, Masonic, proud to be a Freemason, or Winding Stairs or stuff like that groups.
Right.
And then one of the other thoughts I had just coming out is I created RVA Freemasons, which is a private group. And that has been, I created that like 4 or 5 years ago. That's been tremendous. And that keeps, for those of you who don't know what RVA is, that's Richmond, Virginia, and which is the central part of Virginia. We have, dozens of lodges and appendant bodies and so forth, but no one was ever communicating together at all. So other people had been a member of various other lodges' sites. So I was kind of herding local Freemasonry into our page, and allowing them to post, so we can share, we're having a stated or degree or something like that on ours. So we were starting to become a hub. And then for whatever reason, because as anybody in lodges knows, somebody will get irritated over something that you don't think was a big deal. A past master started getting upset that other Masonic bodies and lodges Blue Lodges were promoting their things on our page, which who cares?
Why is that a bad thing? I don't understand. The whole idea is you want people to attend,
Well, they promote their stuff and we go support them and they support us. And, that's how most of us think. Not everybody thinks that way. So, so instead of arguing, I just said, you know what? Okay. And I just took the 30 seconds it takes to create a new private group and created RVA Freemasons. And I was like, I'll just herd everybody into it. And it's got a couple hundred members. And
I'm sorry. So this was your lodge Facebook page that he was complaining about?
This was the lodge Facebook page that we were letting
other people post on. Oh, I see. And okay. So that's
letting other people post their events.
Okay. Well, I can see. I thought if he's complaining about the other one, it made no sense, but I see what you're saying. So that led you to make the Richmond one. Okay.
For the area, and that's been a huge success. And honestly, I think that's Richmond Freemasonry. Our lodge has been very active for. It was basically a dead lodge a decade ago, but it's probably the most active lodge around now. But it's led. I think by doing that, there's a true brotherhood, and I think it's increased visitations and allowed other lodges to succeed. So now I know what everybody's doing, and I like that. But it's a private group, so there's no, Cowans and eavesdroppers and that type of thing, or awkward situations where people are showing up that may or may not be supposed to be there or not.
Right.
So,
well, that's.
So
do you have administrators? Do you have to approve all posts?
No, because I approve all people who are led into that.
Okay, because I still now it hasn't been a problem in a good while, but when the reason I mentioned in the paper is at the time there were several incidences where one of the groups, I think it was our Scottish Rite page or it might have been our lodge page, where someone had their account hacked and somebody was going on to all of their Facebook groups and posting porn. So we put in a policy of like, okay, I'm going to approve every post. And it doesn't take me but a minute. Like every day I go and say, oh, there's a post from Brian. Okay. There's a post. It's easy for someone like me who's always on to just approve each post, but it's a slight filter, and I think it's needed for a public facing page. If it's a private page, maybe not, but still, it's still a useful tip.
I'll switch that real quick if I see any changes. So, and I haven't had any issues so far, and I was surprised. And but on the public side, I manage the Masons Hall page, and that has an international following. And of course, what we're really big on with Masons Hall 1785, which is Masons Hall was built in 1785. It's one of the oldest lodges in America. So that's very public facing because that has a different thing. So not only does it serve to attract visitors, but also fundraising efforts. Because
absolutely.
And which the Grand Lodge's rules do not like me to fundraise, but yet every other organization in the world can send a letter to my lodge and ask for money. But but don't get me started on that. But there's a nice fundraising button you can put because the foundation behind Masons Hall is registered as a nonprofit. So you can add a little button, which is always a nice thing, not only on your lodge pages or on the public pages, but also on the lodge pages if you want to a specific cause or something. As long as it's registered as a nonprofit, it's in the Facebook database. Of course, more so on Instagram, that gets a lot of interesting solicitations. So, to say the least, and generally we ignore those, but it's a bit time consuming to watch that. And that's not a group page. That's just a regular Facebook publicly facing organization page. So it's I can post on it. So, Now I mentioned, and I think you're dead on. A lot of these, every time every Masonic body I'm part of seems to need a cleaning up. Right now I'm doing that for the Richmond Valley Scottish Rite, which we have nothing. So it's easier to fix nothing than it is to fix years of cleanup, which is shocking because it's the Scottish Rite. And it's Central Virginia, so it covers all the way up to Charlottesville and Fredericksburg. It covers literally almost like a 70-mile radius.
Yeah.
And we have 1,000+ members, and the communication is just the social media presence is just non-existent. So we're going to work on that a bit as well.
All right. I do want to say something. You mentioned groups, and that's something else that I've been more involved with since writing that paper. There are a lot of Masonic-based Facebook groups that aren't tied to a specific body. Obviously, mine is the Virginia Research Lodge, so it's centered around a Masonic body, but like Proud to be a Freemason and American Freemasonry in America and Winding Stairs and all these other ones, they were just started by Masons. They're not married to any one Masonic body, so technically they're not really answerable to anybody. And for the most part, they let almost anyone in. A lot of them, they don't make it clear that you have to be a Mason to join. What I think is funny is Proud to be a Freemason. I think by your very title, you should have to be a Mason to join. I'm sorry. I'm all for having a Masonic group that encourages people to, because I want to encourage somebody who's not a Mason to find my Facebook group and join and learn about Masonry. And that's why we need to have FAQs to say, how do I become a Mason? Because that's the number one question, and spell it out. Go here and read all of this, and it'll tell you how to get going. But I really think if your group is called Proud to be a Freemason, you shouldn't let non-Masons in just by the title. But I don't know. But brothers get spun up. Something I want to make clear, I think everybody in this room understands, but the internet is not tiled. This Zoom meeting is not tiled. A Facebook group is not tiled. It cannot be. You can claim to do whatever you want. You can claim that you're going to look at everybody's scanned copy of their dues cards. But look, anything that's online that's about Masonry is open. Somebody can see it. You don't discuss anything that's secret, and you're fine. But don't pretend that you're in a tiled environment. You are not. And if you tell me you are, I'll tell you how you are wrong in so many ways. It is not secure. Anybody who understands military and classifications, this isn't Cybernet. It's not a secure environment. So feel free to talk about anything you want here. I like to use the adage of, we just had lodge, right? We were upstairs. We met in our lodge room. We had our meeting. We had a tiled meeting. We discussed secret stuff. We did degree work, whatever. We just came downstairs. We had our guest speaker who's not a Mason. We have the wives here. We have the youth group serving the food. And I'm sitting at a table, and there's a whole bunch of people in our dining room. About a third of them are not Masons. Anything I can say at that table is what I can say online. It's that simple. And as soon as everybody understands that, we're fine. Because people get all bent out of shape. It's like, we're not tiled, so we can't talk about actual secret stuff. But we can talk about Masonry in general in any of these meetings. But don't give yourself the pretense that we're tiled or everybody in this room is a regular Mason who's a member of a lodge that your Grand Lodge recognizes. Because you're not. I'm willing to bet some of you are from a Grand Lodge that my lodge doesn't recognize. I don't care. It's not a tiled meeting. This isn't a formal Masonic meeting. I can sit here and talk about Masonry with Brother Adejo, who may be in a Grand Lodge we don't recognize, because I don't care, because it's not an official meeting. And that's where people get spun up about not wanting non-Masons in. It's like, let's talk about Masonry without talking about secrets, and it's perfectly okay for a non-Mason or an EA to be here. That's just my take.
No, I agree with that. And I always see those posts that somebody will touch on saying some things they shouldn't, and somebody said, reminder, this is not a tiled lodge.
Yes,
and,
yes.
And of course, and that was a big subject of our stated the other day. We have a philosophical society attached to Richmond Randolph 19, and then we talked about it during the stated. So one of our topics was, recognized forms of Masonry, and of course, with the Facebook groups, obviously, as you know, we don't have the nuclear codes, or these aren't, the secrets are what they are, but people touch on it, and people are constantly being reminded. But so it's fascinating with the internet and especially in the last several years, how there's a lot more people that aren't really people, I guess, for lack of better terms, who are looking to solicit or get in there. There's a lot of burner accounts out there, and
that's a good way to put it.
Which is much more frequent than 2015, which I feel was a much more peaceful time, and in the times of social media. And in the last several years, it's been a little chaotic. So, we've gotten, I've had to go through our accounts on our private group. There's several admins, several past masters, and I kicked a ton of people out. I'm like, these people aren't real people. Who let these guys in? And they're admin,
really?
Yeah. And the admin let them in, and I'm the admin. I'm one of the admin, but there's like several admin. But you go, it's not easy. It's not hard to click on a profile and realize that it's a dummy profile, but somehow they sneak in. So, and I think that's what the social media policy, which I guess that was 17 or 16, the Grand Lodge of Virginia here came out with. But there probably needs to be more up, just like to your paper. There needs to be more updates to it.
Yes.
And of course, your paper needs, TikTok's all the rage with the kids now. So you need to make sure that you have a dance choreographer, a lodge dance choreographer to make all your TikTok videos, because that will take your lodge to the next level. No, we're not doing
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. I tried to touch on the major ones that I'm involved with, and there are other social media platforms by far. You can apply. I mean, the introductory part, and I almost feel silly reading that first page, but honestly, usually my audience is just regular Masons in lodge. Most of them probably don't know the difference between a Facebook page and a website and email. They just don't know. So it's helpful to them. And I get people come up to me. It's like, I appreciate you spelling it out, because I always kind of wonder that, but no one explained it before. So you kind of assume because we're tech savvy, other people are tech savvy. So, I like to at least cover, make sure everybody's on the same page before I keep talking. But a big thing I wanted to get across was, Facebook has a purpose and websites have a purpose. A website is top down. Here's what's going on. Facebook is meant more to be introductory, between the members. It's everybody sharing with each other, and it's important when you set up when you're set up social media for your lodge, that you have a plan of attack, and you say, we're going to address this need by putting it on the website. We're going to address this need by relying on Facebook. We're going to address this need by Twitter, if it works for you. I'm still waiting for the day somebody shows up in my lodge and say, I saw your tweet and I came to lodge. I don't expect it to happen anymore, but it's possible.
Yeah, we gave up on Twitter. So it's Twitter just became too mucked up with also burner accounts. But Facebook is still effective. And, what I like about it is, especially if you have stated or degree work, you create your event page, and that invitation either goes out to all the members of your group automatically. Well, if you click the little box automatically, and also it sends an email. So it's just another form of reminder. But it's, of course, touching on what you said in the past. I mean, I can call them, email multiple times, put it in the trestle board. It's on the website. It's on our Facebook page. There's a special VIT on the Facebook page that also sends out an email. All these things also send out alerts and stuff like that. And you kind of still get the same crowd that's going to come no matter what.
I can't fix everything, but it's I can help improve what we have, but you're right. In the end, it's up to the brother want to make an effort. One thing
some of them just don't want to come, and we stopped doing. You mentioned the mailing. We stopped doing mailing trestle boards a while ago, and I didn't have a problem with the lodge. But now I'm now being in charge of Scottish Rite's strategic plan, and one of them was like, all right, well, do we have to have these mailings? And then I started making some calls to some brothers, and I was doing some personal surveys. I was shocked, and we had guys who I'm like, all right, well, you're right, they don't even have email. And they're like, well, you should write it in I was requesting some information from them. I was like, well, you should write it in a letter and send it to me. I'm like, I'm not writing a letter and send it to you. I'll shoot you an email. What? Shoot you an email about this thing? I don't use email. And and I'm talking to somebody on their landline who's also at home at 1:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. So, there's still that aspect of of our brotherhood out there as well. So we do have to maintain some of those old lines of communication.
I think we started with our Scottish Rite had the Mirror, and I think we stopped doing it. I think maybe we only do it in January now. But we mail it to those who don't have email. But we would send a digital copy. We put it on the website but I think we physically mail the January one because it lists all of the lodges and the incoming masters for our area. But pretty much, the stuff we used to, and I think we've gone mostly to a newsletter that just gets emailed to everybody. So yeah, postage has gotten ridiculous. Something I was going to bring up though about the other Masonic groups, like Proud to be a Freemason, all that. There's a lot of discussion on those groups. There's a lot of really stupid discussion. I got to say, like the points in, points out nonsense about the rings. People bring up the dumbest things, and those are what get all of the replies. So I post something tough, something meaty that actually is about Masonic education and symbolism, and I get like 2 replies. So like, well, I think y'all are kind of showing, you're eating the Cheeto, you're eating the Doritos here. You're really not going for the high protein food. You're choosing the junk food over the sustenance. So that's on you, because I try and post something more insightful and make people think and ask questions and try and get them to think about it. And you generally don't get a reply, but you post something stupid about goats or points in, points out, and 200 people are going to reply to it. So one thing I want from you all is I want more interaction on our Facebook group, on the Research Lodge, because I post a lot of the content, and Brian posts some stuff pretty regularly. I got a few guys who are posting events, and I do appreciate that. If you have an event, by all means, put it on our page. But I've tried to get more conversations going, like with the papers. I love to have people read the papers and then comment on them, because we don't seem to have a lot of discussion in our group. I'm putting out a lot of content. A lot of people are getting stuff, but you look at most of those other ones, there's always people posting things and they get a discussion going. I've tried to generate more conversations on our Facebook group, because we have a lot of members and we have a lot of smart members, and it just seems like I can't get people really to talk about stuff. I don't know what it takes to get you all to do that.
Well, I think the Zooms are great, because a lot of times people want to talk about it in this in this manner.
Yes.
And a year and a half ago, this is not a thing at all. And
True.
And now I think we went to the phase where everybody got zoomed out, and now which is settled. But now I think it's people are kind of not everything is Zoom again. So there's opportunities for us to sit here and have this conversation. Everybody, yep. Everybody, we got people from all over the planet on this right now.
Absolutely.
And it's easier to spark debate and dialogue when you're,
Sure.
An idea pops in my head when we're, you have a point, and I'm like, oh yeah, and that makes sense. So I just think there's with the Research Lodge page, I think there are people, and you should have more activity and encouragement, but I think some people are wary of putting permanently. If I express an idea to you via Zoom, it's easier versus composing and something formally not formally, but on a comment.
Sure.
I guess sometimes it's just a little more, it flows a little better this way, but
I'll give you that.
I like it the other way. What's that?
What's that?
No, I was saying I like it both ways. I get into it, but then I guess the old, since we're on the topic of social media, I could post a picture of a kitten half the time, and 5 minutes later, somebody's going to be arguing about something,
Right.
So
yeah. Why do you hate dogs, Jake?
Yeah, in-person dialogue where we're we
Oh,
sense
absolutely.
tone and mood versus the
Nonverbal
staleness of the
cues.
message board often doesn't
Yep.
translate very well. So
There's a great there's a comedy team, a Key and Peele, and they did a bunch of comedy skits. And there's one where they're texting each other. It's like, you know, one guy's like being all like, "Hey man, that's great. Whatever you want." The other guy, "Whatever you want," and he's ready to go kick his ass because he totally read his text the wrong way.
exactly,
Hilarious, but it's very,
it's all
it's
about
very
tone.
true. Yeah, you don't know. It's like, whatever, you son of a. Yeah, it's like, it was hilarious. Anyway, any other brother got any questions or comments?
No, I'll make a comment though
Please.
regarding the older web pages,
Mhm.
because I do go look from time to time, just because I travel a lot and I want to go visit a lodge when I'm in another city. And 2/3 of the time, the web page is so out of date, it's not funny. You can't find current phone numbers or anything to be able to contact anybody and say, "Hey, I'd like to visit. You got a problem?" You know, or you having a meeting or what have you.
Does your Grand Lodge have like a locator where they list
Yes.
all the lodges? Okay, because for
Yep.
the most part, they do try and keep that current, so you at least have a phone number. But you're right, more and more lodge websites, and I think maybe with social media, with people using Facebook more, they tend to neglect the website, and they may even be
Yep.
contributing to the problem. I think it is at least once a year you should post the current officer. If you do nothing else, when you have your annual, get a picture of the current officers, post the new master and his phone number or email, add a picture of the current officers. If you only do it once a year, you're not that bad. When you
Right.
let it slip for several years, that's
But a lot of them I get on are 5 to 10 years
Yep,
old. It's
easily.
like,
and it's entirely
Wow.
possible that some enterprising young junior or senior deacon put it together, put a lot of effort into it, and got it all current.
and
And then he
nobody
didn't-
else is taking care of it.
Right. He didn't go through the chairs or he just couldn't do it more. And then somebody else started up a new one and no one bothered to see if I make a point, like if I see a website, like I found where a lodge website is out of date, but they have Facebook. And I go to their message them on Facebook and say, "Hey, here's this URL. Is this your current address?" And they'll look and be like, "Oh my gosh, why is that still out there?" So I've helped them identify it and go find it, get rid of it. It's possible to get rid of it. You contact the hosting company. It's an effort, but you got to figure out who it was that was maintaining it, But yeah, that's the thing is like unless you're policing yourselves, websites stay out there, and you may have a newer one out there and they haven't bothered to turn off the old one. And sometimes it's hard to get rid of it. So, all righty. Anybody else got anything? We good? Okay, very good. We're about an hour. It's an hour and 15 minutes. It's not bad for us. I do not have another Zoom meeting scheduled. I got to check the schedule. It probably will be November. I might try and do one in the next 2 weeks. I'm not sure yet. So I will put it out on the webpage. Normally I try and announce it. But if any of you are a speaker and would like to present, or you have an idea for a presentation, please message me. And, if you have a suggestion or whatever, I love to hear ideas because I have a bunch, but you might think of something you want to see covered. We'd love to do it sometime, so let me know. And if you have a talk and you love to give it, I think this is a perfect vehicle. If you, let's say, Al, maybe you've always wanted to give a research paper and you never felt the courage to give it in your lodge for whatever reason, this may be a forum for someone who wants to get started doing research papers and give a talk before a small group. It may be easier for you to get going rather than have to stand in front of your lodge and talk. That can be intimidating for those who are not like me, who are never afraid to stand up and talk in front of a crowd. Sometimes I have to be dragged off stage because I like to talk so much. But this may be a forum where it'd be easier for you to give a chance to try out a paper and give it I'd be more than happy to give you a slot and let you present a paper on something. Or if there's a topic, I've thought about doing this. It hasn't carried off yet, Brian. We've talked about it a few times about planning like a topic and saying, we're going to talk about this on this day. And it just doesn't seem to come off. I don't know. I like to think if we got to go on a regular thing and we had the same number of people coming regularly, we might get to a point where we could say, okay, next week we're going to talk about Grand Lodge dues. That's the topic. And everybody comes back the next week and we have just sort of a forum on it and just an open discussion without having a formal speaker. I'm open to anything. That's the cool thing about this this Zoom meeting format, and I pretty much control it. I can do whatever the hell I want. So until I pretty much have carte blanche for my lodge, they say as long as I don't screw up, they're like, keep going, good job. So, you know, I can pretty much try whatever I feel like trying, and nobody's going to come down on me and say you can't do that. So I'm going to try different things and see what you all like. And if you don't like it, we don't do it again. I mean, that's just kind of the way I'm looking at it. But I want to explore the medium and see what we can come up with. Definitely panel discussions seem to work real well. People respond to them. We get good questions and we have a lot of fun with that. But I don't know. I'm open to any suggestions from y'all. That's the point.
I got a question for you,
Yes.
Chris.
Go ahead.
You put up some comments about what a research lodge is.
Yes.
About a month ago.
Yes.
Do you mind if I bring it up at the research lodge here? Because
Not at all.
they don't tend to understand what a research lodge is. And you
Really? Well, what
I feel like it's right in the title.
yeah. Well, what is, okay. Well, I got to ask, what exactly are they not doing?
It's, I don't know. It's just internally, the discussions aren't a research lodge.
Wow. Okay. Yes. Feel free to anything, any paper or anything that I post or any papers that I share. You are more than welcome. This is more of a general statement. And I put this on the group all the time, but you are more than welcome to take any paper that I post and present it in your lodge. And all I ask is that you give attribution. This is,
Definitely.
you know, Right Worshipful Joe Schmuckatelli,
Yeah.
and he gave it in Virginia Research Lodge in 1982. And that's all I ask, attribution.
Yeah.
And then it's because, believe it or not, and I don't know how this is possible among Masons, but there are those who will go and find a research paper online and go to their lodge and present it as if it's theirs. I
Right.
can't imagine a Mason would do that, but I've been told more than once that it happens. So that scares me. But so I always put the gentle nudge here. It's like, you're welcome to use it, but just give attribution. So anything
Yeah.
that I put out there, by all means, most of what I write, most of those comments are just my own thoughts. I just spit something out on the page. Sometimes it works. Somebody asked me the other day about my email signature, which kind of surprised me, but it was, y'all get my emails, but let's see, it is, if we all do one small thing to help in our organizations, our churches, our community, how much more can we accomplish together? And that's been my email sig for like forever. And I had a guy actually say, who wrote that? Like, oh, well, hell, I wrote that. You're more than welcome to use it. So I occasionally have gems. For the longest time, my signature before that was teach a man to fish and he will eat for a day. Teach a man to use a computer and he won't bother you again for months. So that was my crew. I wanted to have something a little more uplifting, but I truly believe that if we're all pulling together, we can do more. But he wanted to use my quote, my sig line. I'm like, by all means, just give me credit. So anything that I put out there on Facebook, feel free to use. Just give me credit for it. If it helps stimulate the discussion and maybe get them to say, oh, is that what we're supposed to be doing? Yeah, I'd love to.
That's kind of what I'm hoping.
I got what's
Especially after reading the way you put it together, it was like,
oh, well, thank you.
okay, you know,
That's
it's a
what's
whole lot better than what I can write up. So
Oh, by all means, just give me credit and you can feel free to quote me. That's great. So what's the name of the research lodge?
Nevada Research Lodge.
Okay. And that's the only one in the state?
It's the only one in Vegas.
Okay.
Actually, I think it is the only one in the state now. I think the one in Reno closed.
As a side note, there's a brother, it's Ski, I think Straczynski. I don't know, I'll have to look it up. But one of my brothers here, he's from New York, and he's written several books, and he's writing a book on research lodges. And he called and we did a little Zoom interview discussion that ended up going on several hours because we got off topic, talking about various other things like web design and stuff because he does more front end stuff, and I'm more of a back end programmer guy. But we got to talking about research lodges, and you want to know all about Virginia Research Lodge because apparently we're kind of prominent now. And so he's asking all these questions, and I'm trying to be helpful. At one point, he says, "Well, you know what? I'd love for you to help collaborate with me because you have different ideas on where you want to go." So he wants me to help write a book, which is pretty cool. So we're both going to be authors on this. But I have my take. I want to go and catalog all of the research lodges in every single state in the country. Starting with the Grand Lodges in the U.S. and probably looking at other countries too. But I want to answer the question: does every Grand Lodge have a research lodge, and do they have more than one? Virginia has 5. At times, we've had 6. I want to know if that's unusual in the world because I think it is. I know Texas only has 1 for the whole freaking state of Texas. There is only 1 research lodge. I don't understand that. So I kind of wanted to just go and catalog and just basically go Grand Lodge by Grand Lodge and just sum that up and then make a short presentation like saying, okay, well, here they are. Here's the number without going into the real details, just sort of like collectively, because people are curious, how many are there out there? And is 5 a high number? Is it typical they have 1 and some have 2 or 3? And he's more from perspective of he wants to do the Grand Lodge California, Virginia Research Lodge for some reason, and Quattro Coronati and the one in New York that's one of the oldest, and do like
Research.
more, and do more in depth, like have a chapter on each one and what they're doing. And he says, well, where you're coming at it and I'm coming at it are 2 different perspectives. And that's why I want you to collaborate, because we're going to have different ways of looking at it, and we'll put together something that will be more. He says, I don't just want a catalog. You apparently want to just catalog. And together we'll come up with something much more useful. I thought, well, that'd be good because we're going to be looking at it in different ways. So I think that was his whole idea, is that we'll both, between us, will come up with more good ideas. But I think that's going to be pretty cool. Also, we talked about publishing, and we're going to be, I'm looking into publishing our research papers and my own personal papers at some point. So I wanted to get some feedback from him on how to do publishing. It's getting easier and easier to do publishing like on demand, so we can have decent books, and as people order them, they get printed. So it's much cheaper to get in the game. Those of you who ever played around with publishing, usually it's really hard to get started. In the old days, you had to commit to so many books, and you'd have to pay so much up front. Unless you bought 500 books, you'd pay an arm and a leg for each one just to get out the door. But technology has made it where it's much, much easier for, if you want to publish a book with only 100 copies, you can do it fairly cheap. So that's something we want to do. We want to publish actual books of our research papers and send them out there, because some people want to have an actual book, and it's a nice gift. And, they're all readable. If you wanted to, all of these papers we've been making available online, you can go read them on your own. Some of them I've put into YouTube, and, we have them here. But I think some people like to have a physical book. They like to take the book with them and go off and read it. And I think it'd be a nice gift, like if a Master of Lodge wanted to give that out to the officers or something, that might be something cool we could promote. But that's something we're going to look into doing with Virginia Research, is publishing more and putting some books out there, because we haven't done any hard books in like 10 years. And that's why I'm doing the electronic version, because we aren't publishing our transactions anymore, and we haven't in a long time. So, but I think that's another medium, and they're going to be on Amazon. So like anybody can go and just order them. And then that's a little bit extra money for the lodge too. So it's something I'm going to explore. And he gave me a couple of good tips and put me on the road to looking into that. So expect more about that upcoming at some point. So anybody else got anything they want to share? We're going to wrap it up.
One thing I forgot to mention, and I don't want to get into details since we're jumping off here, but just pointing out really, and in terms of social media and web presence, if you haven't been paying attention, the northern jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite, which is now they led this initiative, and now they've partnered with the Shrine and the southern jurisdiction on their beafreemason.org campaign. Mm-hmm. Which is tremendous. And they've created the website, and it's like a professional website, and they've been running social media ads all over the country. So even though it's northern jurisdiction the Scottish Rite, this program, even and is running nationally, is encouraging people who are interested to sign up, and then they're running it through social media, and then the wherever they're located is redirected to the Grand Lodge, who then redirects it to the jurisdiction in Virginia or whatever lodge is most appropriate based on their zip code. But this is a huge initiative that I thought should have been taken a while ago, because and it's good to see the Scottish Rite doing that, particularly in northern jurisdictions. That's kind of the smaller of as you all know, the smaller of the two, because the Scottish Rite and independent bodies are starting to figure out that they can't. The ponds they're fishing in are shriveling up, and they need to make more Masons if they themselves are going to survive. And it's just kind of one of those, no duh moments that somebody finally like, oh yes, well let's just do something about it. Other than at my Scottish Rite, where everybody's like, a few years ago, everybody was sitting around going, well, we need more members. And I'm looking around and I'm like, well, my lodge is the only one in the area growing, but they're not really talking to my lodge. So it's all about, if you're going to catch fish, go to the ponds that are stocked. And I think that program which has been running for about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years now, has and social media is a big part of that, with their YouTube videos as well, which I've seen shared on various sites, because I think that's contributing to our local lodges already growing. Wow. Some on more scale, and but then on the backside is, I've got as master this year, I've had to vet from a few strange characters that weren't going to work out, but we went through the process anyway. So
right,
yeah, so
that is encouraging. I haven't seen those. I know I've seen lodges or Grand Lodges use their videos and stuff. I get targeted all the time. Not
so
just a man.
Getting ads for I'm always getting ads in my display ads and the articles I'm reading, which of course is plugged into social media, and my social media about Be a Freemason. Of course, I'm already a Mason,
right?
So
I've seen the not just a man, a Mason. I see a lot of those.
That's the program, not just a man, a Mason, and then their URL is beafreemason.org.
Right.
So,
but I see a lot of Grand Lodges have taken that and put that on their website, because it makes sense.
It's quality content. The ads they may not be wearing the exact same thing, and their aprons may be on the outside of their coat versus the inside of their coat, and that whole
weirdos.
And their rings may be points in or points out depending on their mood today. But
right.
But it's well. I mean, the point is, it's well produced and it's quality content. It's not a bunch of 90-year-olds sitting around eating green beans.
Right.
So talking about the weather. So it's good content.
Yeah, that's good. Good to hear. All right, brothers. Well, I will be promoting on the group page once I have the next. When I have the next Zoom meeting scheduled, but it will be coming up soon. I probably will do them like every other week. I may not get back to doing it every week unless there's a huge demand. We were doing them almost every week, and I don't know if that was part of the reason that attendance was dropping off, or just it was summertime. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't get enough feedback from people saying why. It's like individually, okay, I can't make it. Well, that's fine. You don't have to apologize if you can't make it, but it seems like collectively, our high watermark, we had over 60 people at one event, and that was great. But typically we do 10 to 20. So I'm happy if I get 10 to 20, but we had a few where we had less than 10. So it was like, obviously attendance isn't there for one reason or another. It's hard to tell. I always want to know more about why people aren't turning up, because I'd love to have it if we have 20 people on here. I think that's successful. So when we had 60, it blew me away. So it was like, wow, I want to get back to that. So we're going to kind of play around with it. We may do it every other week. I always have to do it around other events that come up naturally. So, but I usually have one lined up so I can say today, here's what we're doing. I don't have one. So we have one we're working on for the Grand Supreme Council of Louisiana. They're probably one of the ones coming up. That'll be in November probably. So I will get the word out. Thank you all for coming. If you're not on the group, please join our Facebook group. Good to see you all, brothers.
Thank you. Good to see you.
All right.
Take care.
Okay. See y'all later.